Right, fist me. Come on. Oh, that wasn't the best launch. Pick up, let's go, please. Oh, what? You can't be serious. All right, guys, we did 0 to 100 in seconds. Kia. Don't put headlights on the very outside of the vehicle. I've already seen a couple of Tasmans today with pretty severe scratches along the side here at the front. I am completely flat to the floor right now, and we are slowly building up to speed. G'day guys, how's it going? Today we're here with this, the Kia Tasman, their first ever ute in Australia. And today I'm super excited because we're going to be putting this thing through its paces. I'm going to be doing an on-road test, a 0 to 100 test, a towing test, and taking this thing hardcore off-roading, seeing just how it performs, especially compared to some of the stiffest competition in Australia, the Ford Ranger, the Mitsubishi Triton, the Isuzu D-Max. This thing has been heavily tuned and developed specifically for Australian conditions. So of course, I'm going to be doing a full, thorough deep dive into the performance and how this thing drives. I'll take you for a full exterior tour. We'll go through the interior. And of course, I'll end on my final thoughts. What do I think of Kia's Tasman and how does it stack up against the most fierce competition of any car segment in Australia? Let's do this. Alrighty guys, so let's get into pricing now. And I've got my phone out because by the time you're watching this, Kia's pricing for the entire single cab and dual cab chassis ranges have been released. There's lots of different pricing. So the range does kick off with the 4x2 S trim, which is the cab chassis, which doesn't come with a tray, for $38,000 before on-road costs. If you want to go for the 4x2 in the S trim, in the pickup version, which is this, you can get into that for $46,490 drive away. Then the 4x4 version of the S, which is the base model, starts at $53,990 drive away. Then you've got the SX for $58,490, and then you've got a few more trims like the SX Plus, the X Line, and then of course you have this, the X Pro, which is the top of the range, hardcore off-road focused version of the Tasman, and that comes in at $77,990 drive away. And here's the thing, guys, you can get into a Ford Ranger Wild Track bi-turbo with the 4-cylinder for 75 grand, so a few grand cheaper than this. And that thing is, let's just say it's at the top of the segment right now for a reason. And that thing has boatloads more torque than this. So we'll get into that a bit later, but I really think that the powertrain is what holds this thing back. But of course, we are going to be putting it through its paces, towing, off-road, and all that. So we'll find out later. And then of course, there are a whole lot of genuine Kia factory-backed accessories that are available on this thing. There are far too many to even count. You've got roll-top tonneaus, automatic tonneau covers, canopy, tents, brackets, all kinds of stuff that is factory backed, and that means you do get a 7-year warranty on those things. So if you guys want a full list of all the different genuine accessories and all the different options and pricing for the Tasman, make sure you go to carsauce.com, read our full written review of this thing out now. But for now, let's get into the way that this thing looks, because yeah, this is probably the most divisive thing about this car, if we're being honest. These headlights. Kia. I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Don't put headlights on the very outside of the vehicle when this is exactly the part that gets damaged as you go off-roading by branches and stuff. I've already seen a couple of Tasmans today with pretty severe scratches along the side here at the front, and it's just because there are outstretched branches and you can't do anything. If you damage this, you have to replace the entire unit, which is very frustrating for off-road owners. And not to mention the fact that it just looks kind of ugly from the front, but that is, of course, a subjective opinion. I know a lot of you agree with me, but then there are going to be some that disagree. In terms of the rest of the look, I'm actually a bit of a fan. I do like the way the Kia logo is displayed here with the black Kia badging there for the X Pro. Unfortunately, though, that is hidden if you do go for the full-size bull bar, so that's a bit of a miss there. You do get this black kind of off-road styled panel there, which looks interesting. Massive grille here. This thing actually has a specialized radiator and intercooler system to help cool the powertrain. And yeah, this thing stays pretty damn cool. We also get a front-facing camera here. This thing does come with a really good 360-degree camera and also a really good trail camera as well. So when you're off-roading, you can really see the underbody of the vehicle and place the wheels really well, but more on that in the off-roading section. We also get a couple of rated recovery hooks down here, which are attached to the ladder frame chassis. And if we come down here, we have a plastic bash plate, but if you reach a little further, there is thankfully a steel bash plate down there, which is good to see. That can also be upgraded with the genuine part to fit a reinforced bash plate that goes all the way from the bottom of the engine bay to the transfer case. So that's pretty impressive there. But yeah, in terms of looks from the front, definitely a weird looking car. There's no two ways about it, but let's check out the side. Alrighty guys, let's check out the side of this car. And as you can see, we have been doing some off-roading today. I've been putting this thing through some tests. And as you can see here, we do get these Hankook Dynapro All-Terrain 2 Extreme tires. Pretty decent tires for what we've been putting it through today. These are 17-inch alloy wheels. I like the black alloys there, looks pretty cool. And as you can see, these fender flares are body color matched. That isn't available on every single color, but it is available on this cool Taliban sand color, which Looks, I don't know if I can say that, but looks cool. You do get these blacked out mirror caps here and also a 360 camera down there, which is currently clogged up with a bit of dirt. I'll clean that. Guys, no bloody side steps. Kia, what are you doing? I know you want class leading ground clearance, and the ground clearance is very impressive of this car, but I would have expected you to include some side steps. This is a 1.9 meter tall vehicle after all. So you haven't really considered the smaller humans like me. I'm a bit of a short king at 4'2". As we continue along the side, you can see we have privacy glass there, and it's a very interesting shaped window here with the black surround. We do get this pretty heavy duty roof rail at the top here, and also if you do get the factory fitted canopy, they will line up the roof rail with the roof rails of the canopy so you can put longer items on the back as well. We also get keyless entry and go as standard across the range, which is good to see. And on the non-body colored, so the black plastic fender flares here, we actually get what is essentially like a Ram box style storage closet there, which is cool. You can fit, your gloves and ice pick or whatever else you got in there. Coming to the rear, you'll notice we also get a side step, which is very useful. It allows me to step up and inspect my goods in the back of my Tasman tray, which, by the way, let's talk about that. All right, guys, it is pretty damn cold. Let's wrap this up. So let's talk about the arse of this car. And I have to say, it's not a bad arse. I'd probably give it about a 6 out of 10. As you can see, we have the Kia badging there, debossed into the rear, Tasman badging there, blacked out because we're in the X Pro trim. As you can see, X Pro written out there. We do get some LED tail lights, which are not the largest tail lights. Let's just put it that way. We also get a reversing camera there, a massive brake light there. So everyone knows when you're hitting the brakes in your Tasman. Check this out. Almost just got killed, but I didn't, because this thing is super duper light and has soft opening. If I was in a Jack T9, I'd probably be dead right now. Let's talk about the tray. So the Tasman actually has class leading tray capacity at 1173 litres VDA. It does beat the Ford Ranger, and it's able to fit a full-sized Aussie pallet in the tray, which is very impressive. You also get a 240 volt outlet there, which is also super impressive. You can see we have spray-in tub liner as well, which is done nicely in a very solid black, and it's also finished nicely. It's not going to cut you on the sides here, which is good attention to detail. Of course, there are a whole myriad of accessories we can put, like tonneau covers and stuff like that. In terms of dimensions, the tub is 1512 millimeters long, 1572 wide, and 540 mil deep. And the GVM on the Tasman is 3250 kilos with a 6200 GCM. And in fact, this X Pro trim has the lowest payload out of all of them at 1012 kilos, but it does go up to over 1100 kilos payload for the base S trim 4x2. However, Kia are offering the ability to rate this at sub 1 ton payload, so you can get the tax incentives associated with that. So keep that in mind. So yeah, in terms of tub space and practicality, it definitely ticks all the boxes, but let's check out the interior. Alrighty guys. Oh, that was a good Tasman thonk. Let's check out the interior now of the Tasman. And I have to say, first things first, this is probably one of the best interiors of this entire segment. I'm talking, obviously we're not including like Ram 1500 in it. If we're comparing it to Ranger, HiLux, Triton, D-Max, and some of those new Chinese utes like the LDV Terron 9, all those new players, definitely the Jack T9, I would say that this is far and away the nicest interior out of that entire segment. So one of the things I really like, and I'll show you this first, which is kind of cool on this spec, is we can fold this out and we get a fold out table here. And I really like this feature specifically for utes. I can just picture a lot of tradies getting their Macca's bags and just plonking them right there, or their 24 packs of nuggets. I can just see that. Super cool feature. I really like that. Really soft armrest, by the way, super nice. We also get dual wireless chargers in this spec, which is pretty cool to see, and they do have a rubberized finish, so your phone doesn't kind of move around even when you're doing off-roading, which is very cool. This steering wheel is super nice. It's like a two-tone design with a two-spoke here. You've also got your drive mode selected down the bottom. I can select Eco, Normal, Sport, and My Drive. We've also got the terrain mode selector, so snow, mud, sand, and rock. Of course, rock mode is only available in four-wheel drive low. Now, this thing is a permanent four-wheel drive, but you can also select 2 high or 4 high if you wish. And to pop it into 4 low, you just pop it into neutral, which, by the way, the gear selector is here on the steering column, which, I don't know, I don't mind it. We've seen it on a bunch of other Kia products. I keep losing the start stop button. That just might be a me problem. You also get your metal paddle shifters here, which is kind of cool. Driver monitoring system, go away, don't look at me. You also get your massive dual 12.3 inch displays here. They are super bright, super color accurate, really responsive. I know color accurate is probably not the correct terminology, but you know what I mean. It's a very vibrant kind of screen. You also have your off-road menus. We'll go through that a bit later, but it shows you a whole bunch of specs about off-roading, including your underbody view, which gives you a really good view of the track as well. Very cool to see that. Up in front of you, you get a digital driver's display. It has plenty of information, including my fuel economy, which for this car, been sitting at 11.2 liters per 100 kilometers. And to be honest, in the the other variants when we've been driving on the road, I've been seeing somewhere in the mid 9s, so 9.6, 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers. So yeah, this thing's been tested and tortured properly today. On the left of the steering wheel, I have my adaptive cruise control settings. This thing does get highway drive assist 2, which is a fantastic system, as we'll get into a bit later. It keeps you in the center of the lane, keeps you at a good distance to the car in front of you. It's a 1-button activation, super simple. Kia does a really good lane centering assist. Of course, it goes without saying, we also get wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as standard across the range. And our climate controls, I'm not a huge fan of the placement. It is, you know, becoming Kia design language at this point, but you do get them here in the middle. And if we press this little plus icon, it'll bring up a full screen climate menu there. In terms of seat climate and steering wheel climate, we have the buttons here on the door. They are laid out nice and intuitively. So you have your driver's seat heating and cooling here with 3 stages, as well as 2-stage steering wheel heating, which I'm gonna turn on now because I can. And I'm not the guy behind the camera like I usually am. Now let's talk about the seats, because obviously you spend a lot of time with your butt in it, so it's very important that they're comfortable. And actually Kia say that they benchmark the seats off the Isuzu D-Max, and having spent a decent amount of time in Isuzu D-Maxes, that's a good car to benchmark the seats off, because the seats are fantastically comfortable in that car. And I think honestly they might have done a better job than Isuzu. These seats are phenomenal. Even on the SX grade, which gets the cloth seats, still very, very comfortable. I love these headrests. They honestly feel like they're straight off an office chair, and it's just kind of like spongy with your head on the back there. It feels really, really nice. This quilting on the back of the seat is super nice and premium feeling, and you do get power adjustment, including power lumbar support as well. It's just a nice luxury feature to have on a Ute. In terms of storage space and ergonomics, it's actually quite a good story. So here on this top spec, we do get an additional glove box here with some rubber matting there. And also we can open up the main glove box, which is a decent size indeed. Of course, like I mentioned, we have our dual wireless chargers here, which can also act as a bit of a storage bin, and a couple of cup holders here as well. There is another small storage area here for keys and small things like that in front of this armrest here. And of course we can also open this thing up. It's quite heavy, quite a bit of resistance, and get a decent amount of space inside there, as well as a 12-volt socky wocky. And I've just discovered an Easter egg. We have the car dimensions printed on the inside of this. So as you can see, 1.9 meters in width, 1.9 meters in height. That's why it's literally a square. Moving on, we also have our X-Trek controls here, which is basically your off-road cruise control. Super cool. Our rear locking diff there as well. We can also turn off our parking sensors, a must-have for off-roading, I must say. And our low-range transfer case controls are there. We also have a couple of additional climate controls up here, including your media controls. But I will say, I love these air vent controls. They're manual, and the switches just feel so nice and clicky. Listen to this ASMR. Super nice. And as you move it around, you can see the kind of 3D effect of the hexagons behind it. I think it looks super cool. And also I love this door handle. It just feels chunky, and it's got like a nice knurling to it. Really, really nice there. I will say as well, we do get a Harman Kardon sound system in this top spec. Super good. It honestly surprised me with how good it sounds. I will say it is probably in the upper echelon of sound systems that I've experienced in Utes. In terms of the rest of the interior and just the quality and the luxuriousness, we talk about, I mean, this is a bit hard, scratchy, but at least it's got a nice texture to it. Up here, this is all soft, which is nice. There is a bit of softness here, and hard scratchy there. Missed opportunity for a cup holder, I will be honest. There is definitely room for a cup holder there in the door. We do get nice soft leather down here, and also some pretty decent sized door bins as well. We have our trailer brake controller here, which you can pinch, and if you've got a trailer on the back, you'll feel it kind of slowing you down, which is the point of brakes, I guess. And one more thing, we also get a pretty small sunroof up there, which is manually operated. Kind of a shame at this price point, but we can open it up. Doesn't that just feel so much nicer and airier? I gotta say, guys, I'm super impressed with the interior of this car. You really just have to come and experience it for yourself to understand how much of a leap this is in the Ute segment. But let's check out the back seats. Alrighty, guys, before I get into the back seats, let's check out the utilitarian nature. So I can easily just lift that up. It does lock in place, which is really good. And we do get a tire jack at the back here, and actually a massive storage area underneath the seats, which is awesome to see. Now, if I fold that down, I can also fold the backrest forward. I guess a tiny bit of storage, not really behind the back, but I guess the advantage is that if you can fold these flat, you can fit larger items in the back row. But let's hop in. I wish I had a side step to get in. Alrighty, guys. Oh, that was a solid thonk once again. First party trick of the back seats. Oh, can't do that in your Ford Ranger. Eat your heart out, Ford. Let me put it back to 22 degrees recline, because that's the business position. This is leisure, and this means I'm ready to review the back seats. So let's talk about what it's like back here. And I will say, I'm super duper comfortable. This is one of the best backseat experiences of any ute. And the benefit of having a pretty massive frame is that you get plenty of leg room here in the rear, plenty of tow room, plenty of headroom, even though I am just a small 4'7" king, all right? But yeah, very, very nice and spacious. We do get some small map pockets here, also a weird wetsuit-like material here with a zipper. That's kind of cool. Haven't seen that before, but yeah, you get waterproof map pockets, I guess, in the rear of the Tasman. I'm kind of impressed by that. As far as quality back here, the seats are super comfortable. You get the same leather quilting here, cool design. You do get a fold-down armrest on this spec. However, on the lower specs, I noticed you don't get that, which is a bit of a miss in my opinion, but you get it here, which is nice. A couple of cup holders and a small phone holder there. We also get 2 air vents back here with the same cool design, which I love, and another 240 volt outlet, which is very cool to see. So 2 240 volt outlets in total. The rest of the materials, that is hard, scratchy. This is nice and soft, and you get more ambient lighting, so that's good. And you get a little leather insert there with more ambient lighting behind it. So at least you get a little touch of softness, but the rest of it is just very utilitarian. This feels nice and solid though, and the headliner, at least it's not black. Now you might be thinking, where the hell are the USB-C ports? And that is a great question, because I'm about to tell you. They are on the backs of the front seats. So if you were looking around here going, where's my USB ports? Just look a little higher, you nincompoop. And as you can see, we do get these fast charging ports here on the back of the seats. And another cool luxury, I would say this is a Korean market feature, because you do see it in a lot of Korean cars, is you have the ability to move the front seat by pressing buttons here. So if I'm a passenger sitting on this side, I can just completely crush and like trash compact the person sitting in the front row if I really want. That might get annoying if you have cheeky kids. But you know what isn't annoying? CarSauce Buy. If you guys are in the market for any new car, for example, a Kia Tasman or any new ute, if you think it's time to upgrade your old beast, then you have to go to CarSauce Buy. Don't go through the process, the frankly traumatic process of haggling at a dealership, when we can have our team of professionals do that for you. And best of all, we're on your side, so we want to get the best price for you. We've already helped thousands of you guys, literally thousands, go through this process and save hundreds or even thousands of dollars on your new car. And of course, it is completely obligation free. So if you guys want a quote, and we have recently just updated the system to give it even better and more accurate quotes, then head to CarSauce Buy and our team will look after you. All right, guys, it's time to launch this thing. Alrighty guys, now it is time to launch the Kia Tasman. First thing I'm gonna do is chuck it into sport mode, then I'm gonna stop here and I'm going to brake, boost, launch it. Let's see how quick this thing will go from 0 to 100 k's an hour. Let's do it. Right, fist me. Come on. Oh, that wasn't the best launch. Pick up, let's go. Let's go. Please. Oh. We hit 100. Let's see what we did. I'm gonna pull over and let's have a look at the time. What? You can't be serious. All right, guys, we did 0 to 100 in 10.1 seconds. I was not expecting that, to be honest. That is somehow slower than I expected. I was expecting somewhere in the 9s, but yeah, 0 to 100 in 10.1 seconds. So yeah, you're probably not going to be beating anyone off at the lights in your Kia Tasman. But let's see how this thing tows. Alrighty guys, we're going to tow with the Tasman. We've got a pretty massive caravan right behind us. And interestingly, the caravan weighs basically the exact same as what the Tasman weighs. So this thing does have a curb weight of about 2237 kilos. That thing back there is 2240 kilos. Right now, I've got to say, we're going up a slight hill, I'm flat to the floor, and we are still building speed. So definitely enough torque to tow, you know, around about 2 tons. And this is a pretty large trailer. We've got the extra mirrors on the side so we can see around it, see if anyone's behind us. I have to say, with this on the back, it is definitely absorbing more of the bumps at the rear. We are still getting some vibrations through on roads like this, but that's to be expected. This is still a leaf-sprung ute, and we are definitely going to be using more of those leafs than if we had no downbore force at the rear. I am completely flat to the floor right now, and we are slowly building up to speed. So yeah, you definitely do feel, I would say, the lack of torque, especially when you've got a decent amount of weight on the rear. Something like a Ford Ranger bi-turbo with its 500 Newton meters definitely has a lot more get up and go while towing weight. But the fact of the matter is, you can still do it. You've got the towing capacity to tow up to 3.5 tons, so that's kind of all you need for the segment. But let's get into driving this thing normally. Rightio guys, now I'm driving the Kia Tasman on some bloody tarmac. Finally, we are driving this thing on the road, and I've opted to go for one of the more mid-range affordable variants of the car because I think that'll give us the best possible ride comfort on the road. That's right, I'm sitting in the SX variant. I just turned off from Mountain Panorama. I'm gonna take this thing on some roads around here in Bathurst, see how this thing drives on the road, and see how that famous Kia local ride and handling has been able to get this thing up to scratch for the Aussie market. Now, let's talk about something controversial, which is the powertrain. So it's no secret that Kia are reusing a powertrain in this car. You do get the 2.2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine. It does make not the most power and not the most torque, 154 kilowatt of power, 440 Newton meters of torque. Kia say that unlike some of their competitors, they are aiming to make a car that has accessible torque with a torque curve that actually is usable. I think that's PR speak for, yeah, we know we don't have enough torque to compete with the Ford Rangers of the world. Because even if you compare this thing with the bi-turbo 4-cylinder Ranger, that thing still gets 500 Newton meters of torque. So yeah, this thing is lacking a little bit, but does that affect the way that this thing drives? Well, to be honest, so far, I haven't really found that it does. Yes, there are going to be certain situations, you know, when you're traveling uphill and you want to overtake someone where you're going to really wish you had that extra grunt. But so far, I am finding that this thing is quite comfortable to drive around the streets. And I have to say they've done a pretty good job in terms of NVH. They have added additional buffers between the engine and the cabin to restrict the amount of noise that comes in and travels into the cabin. However, I will say that you still get quite a fair amount of engine noise in the cabin. Now, while I did take a pre-production version of this car off-road already, this is my first time driving a production-ready Tasman on the road. So let's talk ride and handling, because yeah, this thing has received a local tune, and Kia have said that Australia is pretty much the primary market in terms of focus for the Tasman. So they better get it right, especially if they're aiming for what they say is a top 4 spot in the Ute segment. They want something like a 10% market share or something crazy like that. So lofty ambition. Does the Tasman hit the mark? I will say I am pretty impressed with the way this thing handles. It's able to take corners at quite a surprising pace, and it feels firm in the right areas while also feeling comfortable enough to daily drive. We've got a bit of open road in front of us. Let's switch to sport mode and see how the throttle response is. Planting it. Yeah. It really is in no hurry to get up and go, and yeah, you can really feel that lack of torque. However, it does keep going, so it's definitely not terrible in the power department, but yeah, I know. Now we are in the SX trim, which means we are riding on 17-inch alloys. Just gives me an extra chunk of tire sidewall compared to the X Pro or the X Line variants, for example, and yeah, I mean, it just absorbs bumps quite well. I'm honestly impressed with the way that this thing drives. Now, I've got a slight uphill, so let's give it a plan. I'm on 92, and then I just passed 100. So yeah, it's really gonna lack overtaking ability, to be honest, guys, especially going uphill. However, I have to say, for a more basic spec, I feel pretty comfortable in here. The seat is super comfy, it's adjustable. I can get into a really good driving position, and frankly guys, we've already been driving this car for about 3 hours today. It's done it really easily. Now, how about fuel economy? So I am, like I said, in the SX, which is a 4x4. You will probably get better fuel economy in the 2-wheel drive, but currently I'm sitting at an average of 8.8 litres per 100 kilometers, which is definitely not the best I've seen for turbo diesels, but it is way better than something like an Isuzu D-Max, which does have a 3-litre engine and will just absolutely guzzle the diesel compared to this thing. Now, in terms of ADAS systems, you do get the Highway Driving Assist version 2 as standard across the range. So I just press this here. I've now got it set to 92, and we will turn on lane centering assist, and it does a really, really good job of keeping you in the center of the lane. There is also like a vibration warning when you do start to exit the lane. So it is a very well calibrated and tuned system, something that we've come to expect from Kia for sure. So pretty impressive in terms of towing capability. I am also pretty impressed in the way this thing drives on the road, both in terms of comfort as well as NVH. But we've got one final test to go. How does it drive off-road? Let's find out. Alrighty guys, now we're off-roading in the Kia Tasman X Pro, the top spec. Of course, naturally, this thing has all-terrain tires. We're gonna give this thing the best proper shot. Now, I have already driven this car in pre-production spec a couple of months ago, and let's see if they've improved the off-road capability. So first thing I'm gonna do is chuck it into 4 low. To do that, I'll put the car into neutral. Let's move it up into 4 high, instantly engaged, obviously, and then 4 low. We'll see how quickly this engages. We're already in. So there you go. So traction stability control is now limited. We are in 4-wheel drive low. Better put it in drive and off we go forward. Now, one of the really cool features that I will show you later is the X-Trek mode that you do get on this top spec X Pro. These are not the same tires that went up Beer O'Clock Hill. However, this is the same car. That was a completely unmodified Kia Tasman, and they're very proud of that achievement. They've been flaunting it over the last couple of days to all of us media. And I have to say, I am pretty impressed because having seen that hill, that is a pretty severe incline. And we will be testing out the different terrain modes that you get on this, because you do get mud, sand, and rock here on this X Pro variant. And I believe it was rock mode that they were using when they went up Beer O'Clock Hill. That gave them the biggest amount of traction. And we're gonna be using mud mode a little bit later, which is going to allow the throttle response just to be a little bit duller and give me a bit more control over how much wheel slippage we want. I would say it's kind of like off-roading on easy mode. And one of the things that shows you that is the fact that they've mounted the steering column to the steering rack with a rubber mount. And that means that you don't get as much of a harsh response through the steering wheel. It's definitely a lot more tame, and that rubber absorbs a lot of the impacts that would normally be transferred through the steering rack. So I did mention this in my last off-road video, but let's go through the off-road specs of this X Pro. So you do get a 32.2 degree approach angle, and this does have actually really good ground clearance as well. 252 mil in this spec, and it actually can weigh up to 800 mil, so it matches the Ford Ranger in that respect. Now, in terms of the ramp breakover, it is 25.8 degrees, and the departure angle is 26.2 degrees. Now, keep in mind, all of those angles and specs apply to this X Pro variant, because you might have noticed on some of the lower specs of the Tasman, you get this kind of air curtain thing at the front of the vehicle, and that is to help them achieve a 5-star, as they just achieved yesterday, 5-star ANCAP safety rating for pedestrian safety. So another thing I'll show you that's really cool is through this screen here, if I swipe over to the right, I can access my ground view monitor, and that allows me to place the tires actually really well. It's a very clear screen, and I can place my tires perfectly across different terrain. And it's gonna help a little bit later on as we go up a pretty gnarly hill. It's no Beer O'Clock Hill, but it's still pretty decent. I can actually get a much better view rather than having to kind of crane my neck to look over the bonnet. I can just have a look at the screen and see exactly where my tires are. Now, as we approach this hill, what I'm gonna do is something that is very counterintuitive to me, which is activate X-Trek mode. And what that's gonna do is it's basically just gonna work itself out as it goes up the hill. All right, guys, so before I take off, I'm going to start activating X-Trek mode. Now, there are 5 different speeds that I can activate between 2 kilometers an hour and 12 kilometers an hour. It says preparing X-Trek release brake pedal. And now we are on the slowest mode. So if I press up here, now it should lock to probably 2-3 Ks an hour, or actually 4 Ks an hour. I'll put it on the 3rd level. I think this hill is probably appropriate for the 3rd level, which is kind of the middle ground. And I can pause this at any moment by changing gears or braking or accelerating, but I'm literally not doing anything apart from just worrying about where my wheel placement is. And I'm not on the brakes, I'm not on the accelerator. The car is just kind of working itself out. And you can see the power of that rear diff lock as well, because it's just kind of figuring it out, you know? You can hear it go, oh, no, that wheel's not got any traction. So yeah, this is it's pretty impressive, guys. And you gotta remember, there's no front diff lock on this car. It's purely in mud mode with the traction control system set up and a mechanical rear locker, and the rest is just kind of software. And I'm not doing anything. It's all X-Trek mode. Guys, I'm actually quite impressed with the Tasman's off-road kit. Even though it doesn't come with a front locking diff, you've got more than enough with that mechanical rear locker, and the fact that, you know, this car went up Beer O'Clock Hill with no upgrades, no suspension kit, no lift kit, and just a tire upgrade is pretty damn impressive. So I think it's time for me to get to my final thoughts. Alrighty, guys, and this is a very tough one for me because we're now delving into the final thoughts on the Kia Tasman, and I have to kind of summarize everything that we've just been through together into a final summary. And I have to say this thing really impressed me off-road with its off-road kit. And I think there's gonna be a very specific type of buyer out there that maybe is not an expert in off-roading, but really wants to have their hand held through the process. They might also potentially like all that extra towing kit. But I think the sweet spot of the range really comes in at that SX point, because really only about 15-20% of Tasman buyers are ever going to take their car off-road. So if you are thinking of doing heavy-duty off-roading, then definitely the X Pro is for you. But at $77,990 drive away, you are really encroaching on that V6 Ranger, which is, only a few grand more. And you get a much, much more powerful V6 powertrain on that car compared to the pretty lackluster 2.2 litre turbo diesel on this car. So I would say if I was gonna go out and buy a Tasman today, which honestly, I might be tempted to because it has one of the nicest interiors of the segment in my opinion, I would probably be going for the SX at $58,490 drive away. But of course, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you guys are interested in a Kia Tasman, and I know a few of you have already put your interest through on our website, make sure you go to CarSauce Buy, chuck in your details. Our dedicated team of car buyers will help you get the best price possible on your brand new Kia Tasman. All right, guys, ciao for now.